Hey guys, Shane Foster back with you here at Team Wendy. Today I'm really excited about this video. We're going to talk about some really important things to your life, to my life, to our safety, and ultimately just accomplishing the mission. Before we get into that, I'm going to introduce my friend, Brian.
Thank you. I'm Brian Javorek. I've been with Team Wendy for 15 years as an engineer and product designer. I've worked on all the different padding systems that go into our helmets to help keep your brain safe from blunt impact injuries.
And on blunt impact, we're going to talk about three components, Brian. Number one is, what is blunt impact? Number two is, what goes into the design of a helmet that mitigates or in some cases stops blunt impact? And number three, we're going to also talk about the testing protocols that are involved with blunt impact. At the beginning of this video, you probably noticed there was this clip with graphs and you're like, what in the heck is this? Well, that's why I've got this guy to help explain it on today's video. So before we go any further, let's lay the foundation of what is blunt impact and how does it affect anybody that might wear one of our helmets or even a competitor's helmet. So Brian, can you help us understand a little bit more?
Of course. So blunt impact simply means anytime your head is striking a solid object. This could be the ground or a structure, happens in vehicle collision. In this type of impact, your head is getting thrown against some sort of object, and that causes sudden accelerations to the brain. This can be particularly damaging because of the soft tissue in the brain can get kind of rattled around in there. So this is linked to loss of consciousness, concussion, and many debilitating symptoms related to that, like loss of memory, fatigue, nausea, and those types of things. So head injury and head impact is something that anyone wearing a helmet should take very seriously.
So it's kind of crazy to think about this, but there's more to a helmet than just stopping around. There's also keeping our head from looking like this guy out there. There's the comfort of a helmet. There's the design of a helmet. There's all these different things. And from what I understand, blunt impact should always be a part of the requirements when you're making a purchase, because that's a major issue.
Absolutely. A lot of helmet companies focus a lot on the technology in the shell. And Team Wendy makes great shells as well. But we go above and beyond to also focus on the pad systems that's inside the helmet. And that really goes back to our founding following the tragic accident of a young woman named Wendy who had a collision with a tree while skiing, and that caused a very serious brain injury. So we've been designing pads and researching the materials that go into padding systems since our founding, and our pads have tested so well in combat helmets, ballistic helmets, that they've been the only pad used for the U.S. Army helmets for most of the past 20 years.
You know, years ago, there was a saying that's been around, and that is, don't put all your eggs in one basket. And I would also say, when making a purchase or making a decision, you should look at that in the same light and say, I'm not just going to buy a helmet based off of one factor, but the big picture of it, which really leads me into my second question about blunt impact. So if you know anything about Team Wendy, you know that we've had some really unique geometry through the years with our X-Fill, our SL, and now we've kind of used some of the more traditional shapes with the new Epic line. With that, we probably need to understand why design matters. And does design of a helmet help mitigate, stop, and ultimately get me home and you home at the end of the mission?
Yeah, the materials used in the helmet system have a lot to do with the performance against blunt impact. So at Team Wendy, we pride ourselves on designing and developing our own materials that are specifically designed for use in a ballistic helmet. This sets us apart from competitors who largely use off-the-shelf materials. They're generic, they're low cost, they do the bare minimum. But at Team Wendy, we're not satisfied with any of the off-the-shelf solutions. So we put in the time and the research to develop our own material that could be tailored specific for this opportunity.
Yeah, and on the materials, one thing that's really unique about Team Wendy, if you ever had the chance to visit our facility, is it's a massive structure with tons of technological advancements. We're doing some technological advancement testing that honestly, I don't know that anybody in the industry is doing, with rotational testing and different materials that we're pushing out there. And it's this conglomerate, if you will, that really makes Team Wendy unique. And I think all of that goes back to what our mission is that you stated earlier, which is ultimately to make sure people get home at the end of the shift.
That's right. We're partnered with some leading academic institutions that are studying the mechanisms of injury for brain tissue. We're partnered with research labs, with modeling labs, to make sure that we are at the front of the industry and ready to keep moving forward and hold our position as the industry leader when it comes to protecting your brain against injuries.
So referencing the video at the beginning, we probably need to understand what goes into the testing and the protocols of blunt impact. So one thing that's really unique about Team Wendy is the geometry. And how does that really play a part, or does it even play a part in making sure that we accomplish our mission and go home at the end of the shift?
Right, this can be a bit technical getting into the details of the test, but the most common way for a ballistic helmet to be tested is to mount it to a metal head form. This was developed by the Department of Transportation. It's used in sports and motorcycle type helmets. The U.S. Army has adapted this to their use in the advanced combat helmet. So they take it and drop the helmet onto a steel anvil at a set velocity, and they measure the change of velocity of the helmet during that impact. There's an accelerometer inside of the head form that will help take those measurements.
Yeah, I think we all know what that is. We watch Star Wars, Star Trek, accelerometer. What is an accelerometer? And can you explain how that matters to us at all?
It's simply a sensor that is going to measure the change of the velocity. So we want the head to change direction as slowly as possible. That's what keeps everything intact, especially the soft tissue of your brain. So the lower the acceleration, the better during an impact event. So different industries have different standards for what's allowed. The U.S. Army has set a very demanding standard that no acceleration can exceed 150 Gs, and you're going to see that reference line on the video at the beginning.
So on that video, would you say it's fair to assume or to know that not every helmet manufacturer is created equal when it comes to what they pass and their testing protocols?
It's absolutely true. Team Wendy is at the leading edge of the industry in protecting against blunt impact injuries. And Team Wendy tests our helmets to the most rigorous standard we could find, published by the U.S. Army. Requires many helmets be tested at all different sizes. It uses different extreme hot and cold temperatures. It requires impacts to all the different locations on the helmet. I want to pause there because that is something that really sets apart some companies from others. We test all the different locations on the outside of a helmet because you don't know what angle an impact could be coming from. Some of our competitors, they cut corners. They only impact the helmet in the crown with a falling object.
Right.
That type of test is commonly used for an industrial hard hat, and we see this sometimes in Europe, but it is not comprehensive, it's not rigorous, and we want to go the extra mile to make sure we're testing and covering all the different scenarios you might encounter.
Yeah, so I was a part of a sheriff's department, metro agency, and doing riot operations and mobile field force operations. It's amazing to me that people don't just drop bricks straight on top. They actually throw them, and they throw things at our direction from the left, from the right. So to your point, I think it's really important that we understand that blunt impact should be a part of a helmet to the front, to the left, to the right, to the back, and that's exactly what we test at Team Wendy.
That's exactly right. And you wouldn't trust a helmet that's only been shot in one location in the crown. So this impact is equally important to protecting your brain. You want to make sure it's being tested from all different angles, and that's what Team Wendy does when we validate our product designs, and not all the companies do, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I would say one other thing that makes us unique is the fact that not only do we test that, it's a helmet that's comfortable with that extra protection. And it's all of these things together that really makes Team Wendy unique. I say it like this in closing: you know, you've got your different testing out there from, you know, NIJ standards and military standards. But when you start passing each and every one of those standards, you go from high school to college to getting your master's to maybe even your doctorate. And that's what we really try to focus on, is the big picture at Team Wendy, not putting all of our eggs in one basket. Brian, any final remarks before we tell them bye for today?
I would encourage anyone to make sure your helmet is rigorously tested, it's using high quality materials, and above all, to just take seriously head impacts and brain injury as something to be protected against.
Yeah, we certainly believe in ballistic protection. That's a major component of what we create and we produce here at Team Wendy. But we also realize that there's more injuries than just bullets going through the helmet. We want to thank you again for tuning in. We hope this has been informative. If you ever have any questions, please reach out to us. And most importantly, we appreciate you being a part of our team.